Season 1 of Sons of Anarchy introduces Sam Crow, the Sons of Anarchy motorcycle club Redwood original, residing in charming California. Jax Teller serves as the vice president of Sam Crow, which was originally founded by his late father, John. Jax's mother, Gemma, is now married to the club's new president, Clay Morrow. Jax becomes disillusioned with Sam Crow's direction under Clay's leadership, becoming more focused on its violent criminal enterprise than its original simple mission of social rebellion. Gemma grows concerned over Jax's conflicting feelings for the club and encourages Clay to draw him closer into their operations. Meanwhile, Jax's meth addict ex-wife Wendy gives birth to their son Abel. Gemma forces the drug addict to stay away from Jax and Abel, leading to Jax reconnecting with his high school sweetheart, Dr. Tara Knowles. Other members of the Sons of Anarchy include the club's secretary Bobby Elvis Munson, the violent Tig Trager, the Scottish Chibs Telford, young prospective member and butt of the joke Half-Sack, intelligence officer Juice Ortiz, original co-founder Piney Winston, and Piney's son and Jax's best friend Opie, who has recently been released from prison and is reluctant to rejoin the club's illegal operations. Under Clay's leadership, Sam Crow begins buying guns from the True Irish Republican Army, or IRA, a terrorist group seeking to unite Ireland, and doing illegal operations in America to fund their cause. When a rival club known as the Mayans steals Sam Crow's shipment of guns, Sam Crow declares war. The club's IRA contact Cameron Hayes agrees to cover their debts in exchange for murdering a traitor named Brendan Hefner, which Bobby does. As the Mayans escalate a turf war between themselves and a gang known as the 19ers, Clay negotiates a peace deal with the Mayans leader Marcus Alvarez. Unbeknownst to Marcus, Clay secretly plays both sides, further pitting the Mayans and the 19ers against each other to strengthen Sam Crow's power. And those gangs aren't the only problem the Sons of Anarchy have to deal with, as the white supremacist Nordics begin selling meth in town, which Clay is vehemently against. And despite the Sons working alongside Chief of Police Wayne Unser, the well-meaning deputy David Hale becomes suspicious of his boss and becomes determined to take down Sam Crow. ATF agent Joshua Cohn begins looking into Sam Crow's gun-running operation, leading him to cross paths with his ex, Tara. Cohn had become obsessed with Tara, receiving a restraining order against him, and begins stalking her. When Cohn is fired by the ATF, he attacks Tara, forcing her to shoot him in the stomach and call Jax for help. Jax then murders Cohn and hides the body. As Jax and Tara grow closer, Gemma fears the relationship will pull her son further away from the Sons. Gemma tries to sabotage the relationship by bringing a newly sober Wendy back into Jax's life, leading to the exes having sex. ATF agent June Stahl then arrives in town and teams up with Deputy Hale to bring down Sam Crow once and for all. The ATF raid the Sons clubhouse and arrest Bobby for the murder of Brendan Hefner, while Stahl also frames Opie as being a rat, in a scheme to get the club members to turn on themselves. Believing in Stahl's lies, Clay reluctantly orders Tig to murder Opie. Deputy Hale feels guilty over the framing and confesses the scheme to Chief Unser. Unser warns Clay, who calls off the hit on Opie, but it's too late. Tig opens fire on Opie's truck, accidentally killing Opie's wife Donna. Clay lies to Sam Crow that Donna's death was at the hands of the 19ers, but Hale informs Jax of the truth. When Clay orders the club to murder one of Brendan Hefner's teenage mistresses, who plans on testifying against Bobby, Jax goes against the club and saves the girl. As the season comes to a close, Jax has become further disillusioned with Sam Crow, Clay, and Gemma, though he gets support from Piney in plotting to enact a real change. You know, the Sons of Anarchy are pretty tough, but not even they stand a chance against the security features of this video's sponsor, NordVPN. With NordVPN, you can be safer online with a single click. They protect you from cybersecurity threats like malware, phishing, DDoS attacks, and more. Plus, their dark web monitor notifies you if someone leaks your credentials, so you don't have to worry about your identity or private data being stolen online. Their threat protection also blocks pesky trackers and ads, making web browsing efficient and secure. NordVPN is also the fastest VPN on the market, and they've just introduced their own MeshNet feature, which allows you to quickly and seamlessly share files, play LAN games, or simply access other devices directly. Oh, and did I mention NordVPN can change your browser's virtual location? So now that you're done binging Sons of Anarchy for the 5th time, you can change your location to somewhere like Canada, or maybe even somewhere in Europe, and stream all of the various shows on your favorite streaming platform that aren't available in America. So head on over to nordvpn.com/chilltv for an incredible deal on your new 2-year plan, plus you'll get 4 months free. It's risk-free and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/chilltv for a great deal on a 2-year plan plus 4 months free. Link is in the description. Now let's get back to the recap. In Season 2 of Sons of Anarchy, Sam Crow continues gun running for the IRA, working alongside the father and son duo of Cameron and Edmund Hayes, and IRA street boss Jimmy O'Phelan. Chibs is a former member of the IRA who was kicked out by Jimmy, who then married Chibs' ex-wife and raised Chibs' daughter. While still caught in the middle of the Mayans and One-Niners turf war, Sam Crow must also face off against the League of American Nationalists. Lone is a group of neo-Nazis led by wealthy businessman Edward Zobel and his right-hand man AJ Weston, who are looking to take over the entire town. Lone also works alongside the white supremacist Nordics, led by Ernest Darby, and the shady businessman Jacob Hale, the brother of the well-meaning Deputy Hale. Lone tries to strong-arm Sam Crow to stop selling guns to the non-white Mayans and One-Niners. When Clay refuses this demand, members of Lone, including AJ Weston and Zobel's daughter Polly, orchestrate the assault of Gemma. Tara helps Gemma cope with her assault, bringing the women closer together and easing Gemma's concerns of Tara's relationship with Jax. Lone then takes over the IRA's gun business from Sam Crow, further escalating the tensions between the two groups. Jimmy tries to keep Sam Crow in line by threatening Chibs' family, but instead the Sons member turns to Agent Stahl. She sends the ATF to raid the IRA and arrest the young Edmund Hayes, turning him into an informant. Meanwhile, Bobby is released from prison and rejoins the Sons of Anarchy. Opie is depressed and reckless following Donna's death, and eventually beats a confession out of Tig to learn the truth of his wife's demise. Opie decides to remain with Sam Crow to reform it from the inside, alongside his father Piney and his best friend Jax. The club also takes in Chucky Marston, an annoying bookkeeper who is friends with the incarcerated Sam Crow member Big Otto. Big Otto's wife is Luann Delaney, Gemma's best friend and the wealthy owner of a porn production company. Sam Crow works for Luann as protection, leading to Opie meeting and developing feelings for a porn star named Lila. When Luann is murdered by a rival company led by Georgie Caruso, Sam Crow takes over her business. Jax sees this as an opportunity to move the club away from illegal gun running and into something more legitimate, but Clay refuses. When Lone escalates their battle against Sam Crow by burning down the porn studio, Jax thinks Clay is responsible and decides to finally leave the club for good. When Gemma reveals her assault at the hands of Lone, Jax and Clay reluctantly make amends to bring their rivals down. Deputy Hale sees Sam Crow as a lesser evil than his brother Jacob and the villainous Lone, leading him to help Sam Crow thwart the white supremacists. Taking matters into their own hands, Sam Crow attacks Lone's leader Edward Zobel's family, but they are all arrested in the aftermath. Wealthy businessman Elliot Oswald, who is at odds with Zobel and Weston, posts Sam Crow's bail in exchange for their support in the upcoming mayoral election. Meanwhile, the duplicitous Zobel begins working with the Mayans to sell heroin, which Jax reveals to Weston, driving a wedge between the former partners. In the end, the Sons of Anarchy and AJ Weston's men engage in a brawl that is broken up by the police, forcing Jax to hunt down and murder Weston on his own. With his power over the town slipping and the police turning their attention on him, Edward Zobel is forced to flee the country. Instead of going with her father, Polly chooses to find and say goodbye to her secret forbidden love, Edmund Hayes. When Edmund's father Cameron discovers that his son has become an informant, he orders Edmund to prove his loyalty to the IRA by killing Agent Stahl. Edmund fails at this and Stahl kills him instead. Stahl informs Polly of her lover's death, causing her to race to be by Edmund's side. Gemma sees Polly, an accomplice in her assault, and follows her to enact her own revenge by killing her. Agent Stahl then frames Gemma for both Edmund and Polly's deaths. When Cameron learns of Edmund's death, he seeks revenge on Gemma by attacking Jax and his family. Half-Sack arrives to intervene but is killed by Cameron. As all of the Sons of Anarchy chase after Cameron, the villainous Irishman escapes with Jax's baby son Abel. In Season 3 of Sons of Anarchy, Cameron Hayes flees to Belfast with Abel, but the IRA kills him in the hopes of smoothing things over with the Sons. Jimmy O'Phelan has gone rogue to take over the IRA for himself and enlists the help of the Sons of Anarchy's Belfast charter, including its president Keith McGee. Not wanting to suffer retribution from Sam Crow, Jimmy plots to have Abel's whereabouts kept hidden. Meanwhile, Gemma is wanted by the police for the murder of Edmund and Polly. Wanting to save his mother, Jax cuts a deal with Agent Stahl, promising to serve as a rat to help bring down the IRA and their gun-running business, in exchange for Stahl recanting her allegations against Gemma. At Half-Sack's wake, a rival club attacks, injuring many and killing Deputy Hale. The attackers are a club known as the Calaveras, led by Hector Salazar, who are on the verge of joining the Mayans. Sam Crow takes down the Calaveras and form a truce with the Mayans, leading to Salazar swearing vengeance. Tara begins suffering from panic attacks due to her involvement with Sam Crow's illegal operations, including helping them start up a stolen prescription drug business. When Tara discovers she is pregnant with Jax's baby, she is unsure of what to do and only confides this secret to Gemma. Feeling guilty over getting Tara involved in his life of crime, Jax breaks up with her. Cameron Hayes' cousin Maureen, who has a mysterious connection to the Teller family, calls Jax to inform him of Abel's location. And so Jax and many of his Sam Crow brothers travel to Belfast to rescue Abel. While there, Chibs reunites with his ex-wife Fiona and their daughter Carrie Ann. The IRA's consigliere Father Ashby promises to help find Abel in exchange for the Sons killing the rogue Jimmy O'Phelan. Agent Stahl calls Jax to warn him that Jimmy needs to be taken alive or their deal for Gemma's exoneration is off the table. Sam Crow goes to war with Jimmy and the Belfast Sons, leading Clay to killing his old friend and club brother McGee. Meanwhile, Jax begins a relationship with Maureen's daughter Trinity, prompting Maureen and Gemma to reveal the truth, that Maureen had long ago had an affair with Jax's father, and that Trinity was his daughter. This revelation causes Jax and Trinity to immediately end their burgeoning relationship. Jax then discovers that Father Ashby was lying to him and had actually placed Abel in an orphanage to allow the child to grow up away from the dangerous Sons of Anarchy. Ashby had only been using Jax to get what he wanted, Jimmy ousted from the IRA. The IRA offers a deal to Clay to expand their gun-running business in America, which Clay accepts, putting Jax's deal with Stahl in jeopardy. Jimmy then kidnaps Abel to use as leverage to escape the country, but Father Ashby exchanges himself with Abel as Jimmy's hostage, proving his true allegiance to Jax and his family. Finally reunited with his son, Jax and Sam Crow return to America. Meanwhile, Chief Unser begins feeling the pressure of the county sheriff's department taking control of the charming police. Jacob Hale promises to keep the county sheriffs away in exchange for Unser backing him in the mayoral election. Unfortunately, the duplicitous Hale begins working with Hector Salazar and the Calaveras, and betrays Unser to allow the sheriffs to take control of Charming. Unser then works with Sam Crow to take down the backstabbing Hale, but they would need to bring in Salazar alive to testify against the villainous mayoral candidate. When Salazar kidnaps Tara to finally enact his revenge on Sam Crow, Jax kills him and reconciles with the pregnant Tara, causing Unser to lose control of the town's police departments. Meanwhile, Jimmy O'Phelan kills Father Ashby and tries to find safe passage with his allies in Russia, but Sam Crow buys him from the Russians instead. As Agent Stahl arrives to arrest Jimmy, honoring her deal with Jax to exonerate Gemma, she reveals to the rest of the Sons that Jax had been working for her as a rat. Although the Sons act devastated by this betrayal, they were all in on Jax's plan from the beginning, taking the opportunity to allow Opie to kill Stahl as revenge for Donna's death, while Chibs kills Jimmy as revenge for stealing his ex-wife and daughter. Sam Crow then frames the IRA for both murders, though Jax, Clay, Bobby, Juice, and Tig are all finally arrested and charged for their assault on Edward Zobel's family. In Season 4 of Sons of Anarchy, 14 months have passed and the imprisoned Sons are finally released from prison. In their absence, Charming has seen massive changes. Opie and Lila finally get married, Tara has given birth to Jax's son Thomas, and upon her lover's release, they get engaged and become resolved to leave Sam Crow for good. Jacob Hale is now the mayor of Charming, and Unser has been removed as chief of police, replaced by the county sheriff's department led by Lieutenant Eli Roosevelt. Roosevelt teams up with U.S. Assistant Attorney Lincoln Potter, who is determined to take down Sam Crow at any cost. Potter then strong-arms Sam Crow member Juice, warning that he will reveal to the club that he is half black, which would cause Clay to kick him out. And so Juice agrees to be their informant. Potter also visits Big Otto in prison and reveals to him that Bobby had been sleeping with his late wife Luann before her death, and that the Sons had yet to seek revenge on her killer. This prompts Otto to also turn on his former allies. Despite Lincoln's success in flipping Sam Crow members to his side, Roosevelt feels guilty over his allies' shady tactics. Lincoln tells Juice that his true target is the IRA, and if Juice cooperates, Sam Crow will be spared. Meanwhile, the Sons of Anarchy kill off the Russian gang in America to take control of their guns. Sam Crow and the Mayans then make a deal with Romeo Parada and the Galindo cartel, selling guns to the cartel and agreeing to run the Mexican cartel's drugs in America. When a rival cartel, the Lobo Sonora, begin attacking the Sons for their involvement with Romeo, many members of Sam Crow begin to resent Clay's leadership, turning the club into drug smugglers. When Sam Crow discovers that the Lobos have been working with the One Niners Club, Clay and Jax convince the Niners leader Leroy to join Sam Crow and the Mayans to work with Romeo instead. Jax secretly wants to end Sam Crow's drug deal with the cartel and set up Romeo with the IRA for the gun supply, setting himself up to walk away peacefully with his family to live a simple life away from the Sons. Meanwhile, Gemma becomes concerned about letters from Jax's late father JT that Maureen had sent with him from Belfast. Those letters detail JT's suspicions that Clay and Gemma would be the cause of his untimely death. Clay and Gemma resolve to stop at nothing to retrieve the letters before Jax can read them. Tara has already read the letters and learned the truth, but has yet to tell Jax out of fear for how he will react. Piney helps Tara hide the letters and becomes further disillusioned with the Sons Club under Clay's leadership. Piney threatens to give Jax the letters if Clay doesn't back Sam Crow out of the deal with Romeo, prompting Clay to murder his old friend and frame the Lobo Sonora cartel. Knowing that Tara also knew the truth about the letters, Clay works with Romeo's cartel to hire a hitman to kill Tara. Jax saves Tara from the botched hit, but her hand is severely injured in the attack, threatening her surgical career. When Gemma discovers that Clay tried to kill the mother of her grandchild, the married couple get into a brutal fight that ends their romantic relationship. Fearing Clay's behavior, Unser tells Opie the truth about his father Piney's murder. Seeking revenge, Opie finds Clay and shoots him. Jax saves Clay, who helps cover for Opie's failed hit. The distraught Tig believes that the One-Niners are responsible for the shooting and drives his car into Leroy while he's on a date, killing his innocent girlfriend Veronica. A remorseful Gemma retrieves the letters from Tara and gives them to Jax. Gemma explains to Jax that Clay had killed JT and took the president of Sam Crow role that rightly belonged to the Teller family. And to hide this fact, Clay murdered Piney and tried to murder Tara. And now Gemma urges Jax to murder Clay and take back leadership of the Sons. In secret, Tara reveals that she knows that Gemma didn't give Jax all of JT's letters, as there is one that reveals Gemma's own involvement in JT's death. As the season comes to a close, Sam Crow, the IRA, and the cartel prepare to have their final meeting, while Lincoln Potter and his men prepare to raid the meeting and take them down. Before Lincoln's team can strike, Romeo reveals to the agents that the cartel have actually been working with the CIA, who want to strengthen the Galindo cartel to take down all other Mexican cartels. And so the CIA shuts down Lincoln's raid. Lincoln leaves town, but despite his failures, he upholds his end of the deal, helping Juice create an alibi to absolve him of any suspicions from the Sons. Romeo tells Jax that the CIA can still enact Lincoln's case, so Sam Crow needs to cooperate. The cartel and the IRA will only work with Clay, and therefore Clay needs to live to act as a mediator between the groups, ruining Jax's plans to kill Clay and finally leave town with his family. Jax reluctantly keeps Clay alive, but takes over as Sam Crow president. In Season 5 of Sons of Anarchy, the powerful kingpin Damon Pope, the father of Leroy's dead girlfriend Veronica, arrives in Charming to avenge his daughter. Pope controls many clubs and gangs, including the 19ers, and has many government officials and police officers on his payroll. Pope kills Leroy and warns the Niners to stand down in their open warfare against the Sons in order to avoid any implication for himself. Pope enacts his personal revenge by murdering Tig's own daughter in front of him, then using his connections in the police force to arrest Jax, Chibs, and Tig for the murder of Veronica, paying witnesses to make false testimonies. In order to look after his fellow brothers, Opie punches Roosevelt to ensure his own arrest. While in prison, Jax is visited by Pope, who forces Sam Crow into paying him half of their earnings from the cartel, and also threatens Jax that he and his friends would all rot in prison until one of them dies, after which Pope would have the witnesses recant their statements and ensure the others' release. Jax volunteers to sacrifice himself to save his friends, but Opie chooses to take his place, offering himself up to a gang of corrupt prison guards and fellow inmates, who tragically murder him in front of the heartbroken Jax, Chibs, and Tig. Pope then upholds his end of the deal, leading to Jax, Tig, and Chibs' release. The newly released trio hunt down and murder all of the prison staff involved in Opie's death, though Sam Crow are forced to continue their new deal with Pope. Caught between Pope, the cartel, the IRA, and the CIA, Jax struggles to find a way to leave the Sons for good in order to flee with his family. Jax manages to arrange a new potential partnership to supply guns to the cartel via a Chinese triad led by Henry Lin, which could be the potential solution for all of Jax's problems. Meanwhile, as Clay slowly recovers from his gunshot wounds, Gemma begins dating a man named Nero Padilla, the owner of an escort agency. Nero is a former gang member who is trying to escape his past and has turned his business legit. Jax grows close to Nero, who turns into a mentor figure in Jax's desire to escape his own life of crime. Meanwhile, a group of nomad bikers join Sam Crow, though they have mysterious ulterior motives. Secretly working for Clay, the nomads start inciting violence throughout Charming, attacking Unser, and stirring a public distrust of the Sons, all in an effort to have Clay reinstated as Sam Crow's president. Their violence escalates after breaking into Roosevelt's home and accidentally killing his pregnant wife. As Jax and Unser begin their own investigation for the truth, they soon discover that the new recruits were responsible. Desperate to cover up his involvement, Clay helps Sam Crow hunt down and kill the nomads. When Jax discovers that Juice had acted as a rat for Roosevelt and Lincoln, he cuts a deal with Juice to stay in Sam Crow in exchange for his help in gathering evidence to bring down Clay once and for all. And in a further effort to expose Clay's secrets, Jax blackmails Gemma into rekindling her relationship with her abusive ex, if she ever wants to see her grandchildren again. Meanwhile, Jax and Tara get married, with Tara agreeing to do whatever it takes to help her new husband. Tara begins working at the prison to get closer to Big Otto, knowing that if Otto recants his statements against Sam Crow, the CIA will have no more evidence, which would allow Sam Crow to pull out of their deal with the cartel. When Jax tells Bobby and Chibs about Clay killing JT, Piney, and attempting to kill Tara, they agree to back him in a vote to kick Clay out of Sam Crow for good, though Bobby votes against Jax in a vote to spare Clay's life. Clay knows that if Jax can work his way out of the cartel deal, he will have no more use for keeping Clay alive. And so Clay begins plotting to flee to Belfast. Back at the prison, Otto tricks Tara into bringing him a crucifix necklace, which he then uses to kill a prison nurse. This act tarnishes Otto's testimony against Sam Crow, ruining the CIA's case against the club and allowing them to pull out of their cartel deal. Unfortunately, this act also leads to Tara being arrested for accessory to murder. As the season comes to a close, Jax tries to finally pull off his master plan, having having the Mayans take over the drug running for the cartel, and Henry Lynn's Triad becoming the cartel's new gun supplier. Unfortunately, the IRA becomes furious for being left out of the New Deal. Nero steps in, realizing he can't leave his old life behind him, and pays off the IRA to temporarily save Jax and the Sons. With his arrangement finally sorted out, Jax returns his attention to Damon Pope. Pope wants Tig dead for the death of Veronica, so Jax delivers Tig to the Kingpin. Jax then shockingly betrays Pope, allowing Tig to enact his own fatherly revenge and kill the Kingpin with Clay's gun, framing the former Sam Crow president. Roosevelt feels his own closure for his wife's death as he arrests Clay, while Pope's men, thinking Clay killed their leader, put a bounty on his head. Bobby is disappointed by Jax's duplicitous actions and warns that he is turning into the very man he claims to hate. In Season 6 of Sons of Anarchy, the unstable and retired U.S. Marshal Lee Torek wants revenge on the Sons for the death of his sister, the prison nurse killed by Otto. Lee ensures that Otto is viciously tortured in prison, while also orchestrating a plan to bring down all of Sam Crow. Lee draws the attention of District Attorney Tyne Patterson toward the Sons and their various illegal exploits, murders a prostitute and frames Nero, and even makes a deal with Clay to flip on his former club brothers in exchange for protection against the many inmates who want to see him dead. Instead, Clay helps slip Otto a shiv, which he uses to murder Lee before being killed by the prison guards. With Lee now dead, Patterson still has her eye on the Sons and forces Roosevelt to help her in taking them down. Despite pressure from Patterson, Roosevelt helps prove Nero's innocence from Lee's attempted framing. As Nero continues to lead his reunited gang, the Bizlats, he helps Jax expand the Sons into the town of Stockton, unofficially ruled by a man named Charles Borowski, who has a gang of dirty cops on his payroll. Charles then helps Jax and Nero successfully set up their new joint escort business. Despite Jax's expansion plans, the other members of the Sons begin to feel more disillusioned with the club. When a young boy gets his hands on a gun from Sam Crow and the Bizlat supply, and uses it for a shooting at his school, Jax forces Juice to kill the boy's mother to prevent her from testifying about where her son got the gun. Juice becomes despondent over this and all of the other horrific actions he's been forced to be a part of as a member of the Sons. When Juice tells Nero about Jax's actions, he too is disappointed by his surrogate son. Despite still offering support to Jax, Nero aligns the Bizlats with the Mayans, who have once again found themselves in a violent turf war against the 19ers. As Nero tries to leave his life of crime behind, urging Gemma to join him, Patterson threatens him with charges for supplying the gun to the young boy. Despite Patterson's effort to manipulate Nero into flipping on Jax and the Sons, Nero remains loyal. With Sam Crow ranks thinning, Bobby rounds up nomad bikers to join the club, and many prospects, including the young rat boy, are patched in as full members. Meanwhile, Tara is released from prison on bail, finally disillusioned by all of the death and violence that constantly follows her husband. Tara secretly begins orchestrating a divorce from Jax. Fearing for her son's safety should she be convicted and sentenced to prison, Tara begins working with Jax's ex-wife Wendy to ensure the children would go to her instead of Jax or Gemma. As part of her elaborate scheme, Tara fakes a pregnancy and then frames Gemma for assaulting her, resulting in a fake miscarriage. Jax is horrified by his mother's supposed actions and agrees to sign legal documents to keep her away from his sons. When Gemma discovers Tara's Machiavellian plot, Nero helps her convince Jax of the truth, that his wife is plotting to divorce him and take away his children. Despite Jax's plan to finally be free of illegal gun running, the IRA still wants to force Sam Crow into doing business. Jax tries to negotiate for Damon Pope's successor August Marks to take over the gun business, but the racist Irish, represented by street boss Galen, refuse the new arrangement. A stubborn Jax pulls Sam Crow out of their deal with the IRA anyway, leading the Irish to kill 2 Sons members and blowing up their clubhouse. Galen reveals to Jax that the IRA wants to bust Clay out of prison and have him run their gun operation from Belfast. Jax reluctantly agrees to help bust Clay out of prison, but secretly makes a deal with Patterson to give her Galen and the IRA in exchange for immunity for the club. As Clay is en route to a court hearing in a prison transport van, Sam Crow attacks and successfully breaks out their former president, though Bobby is shot in the process. As Clay prepares to flee to Belfast, Jax shockingly reveals his true plan, killing Galen and his allies before finally murdering his own villainous stepfather and framing him for all of the deaths. With Clay dead, Jax is finally able to force the IRA into revoking their gun contract with Sam Crow and making a deal with August instead. To prove August's loyalty and necessity to the IRA, Jax stokes a battle between the IRA and the Chinese Triad, which August has his Niners violently intervene in, sealing the deal between August and the IRA. As Tara stitches up Bobby's gunshot wound, she secretly keeps the bullet, offering to give it to Patterson to prove Sam Crow's involvement in Clay's prison break in exchange for her own exoneration. Despite Patterson accepting the terms, Tara can't bring herself into actually turning on her husband, and instead takes her sons and flees Charming. With Thomas and Abel missing, Jax and Gemma believe that Tara had in fact snitched and made a deal to enter into witness protection. Jax manages to find Tara, who confesses to everything, leading to the two reconciling. Jax agrees to turn himself over to Patterson in exchange for his family and the club being protected. In the end, Gemma, not realizing that Tara had never actually snitched, murders her daughter-in-law to protect Jax. Roosevelt discovers Gemma over Tara's dead body, but before he can call for backup, Juice murders him and offers Gemma his assistance. As the season comes to a close, Jax arrives home to find Tara and Roosevelt dead, and becomes despondent as he cradles his dead wife. In Season 7 of Sons of Anarchy, Jax is still grieving the death of Tara, and has given up on his dream of reforming the Sons, instead focusing on expanding their operations at any cost, much like Clay. With Tara dead and her evidence gone, Patterson has no reason to charge Jax with any crime, but still urges him to be the man that Tara believed he could be. But Jax is consumed by grief, and when Gemma lies to her son about seeing a member of the Triad murdering Tara, Jax becomes determined to take the entire Triad down. Sam Crow teams up with the Sons of Anarchy Indian Hills Charter, led by President Jury White, to attack Henry Lynn's Triad and steal their heroin. After a successful heist, Jax aligns with the imprisoned Aryan Brotherhood leader Ron Tully to have his men help the Sons sell their newly obtained heroin. And to cover his tracks, Jax murders many of his Indian Hills allies to frame them as the sole attackers. One of Jax's victims turns out to be Jury's son, causing the club president to seek revenge on Jax. Jax is forced to kill Jury, angering the presidents of the other Sons of Anarchy charters, who begin to question Jax's ability to lead. When Henry Lynn discovers Jax's betrayal, the Triad attacks Jax and Nero's escort business Diosa, and slaughters all of their escorts. Meanwhile, Charming gets a new sheriff named Althea Jerry. Unser becomes her official consultant and helps her strike up an alliance with Sam Crow in the hopes of bending the rules to keep violence off the streets. Jerry then begins dating Chibs, who steers her away from Sam Crow's more illegal acts, while pointing her toward the club's more violent adversaries. And Tig strikes up his own new relationship with the transgender prostitute Venus Van Dam, wanting to avoid Jax's war with the Triad spilling onto the innocent streets of Charming. Unser helps Jerry arrest Henry Lynn on gun and drug charges before Jax can kill him. Despite this, Jax does enact his revenge on the Triad members that avoided arrest. Meanwhile, Juice is on the run from his former brothers in Sam Crow, knowing Jax would want him dead for his countless betrayals. Gemma feels indebted to Juice for helping her cover up Tara's murder and aids him in his escape. When Juice goes to Marcus Alvarez and the Mayans to seek passage to Mexico in exchange for intel on Sam Crow, Alvarez instead captures Juice and alerts Jax. As Alvarez turns over Juice to Jax, the Sam Crow president also makes a deal with the Mayans for their help in taking down August Marks, in exchange for the Mayans taking over the IRA's gun running. To make amends with his fellow sons and re-earn their trust and respect, Juice agrees to get himself arrested so that he can kill Henry Lynn in prison. While in prison and waiting for the moment he crosses paths with Lynn, Juice is subjected to endless abuse by Ron Tully and his Brotherhood. When Juice finally gets to Henry Lynn alone, Lynn reveals that Charles Borowski had secretly betrayed Sam Crow to work with the Triad, and then Juice fulfills his mission, killing the Triad leader. Elsewhere, Jax also aligns with the One-Niners and their new leader Tyler to take down August Marks and split the gun-running operation with the Mayans. August retaliates by murdering Bobby, sending a message to Jax that he is stronger than Sam Crow, the Mayans, and the One-Niners combined. With no other options, Jax decides to rat on August, having Chibs deliver to Jerry proof of August's illegal dealings, leading to his arrest. Meanwhile, Gemma begins to mentally lose it, as she is racked with guilt for murdering Tara. Gemma begins talking to Tara's ghost, which the young Abel overhears, discovering that his grandmother killed his mom. Wendy helps comfort Gemma as she reintegrates into the Teller family and begins to bond with Abel and Thomas. Nero finally cashes out of all of his businesses and ends his partnership with Jax to buy a farm and live a simple, peaceful life with his young son. Nero invites Gemma, Abel, and Thomas to come with him, but Gemma turns him down. When Abel asks Jax if Gemma killed Tara so that his real mother Wendy could be with him, Jax grows concerned. When Jax visits Juice in prison following Lynn's death, Juice reveals that Borowski is a traitor and then confirms that Gemma had in fact killed Tara. Jax thanks Juice and forgives him for his past transgressions, then orchestrates a quick death for his old friend to put an end to his suffering. As Jax hunts down Gemma, she flees to Nero. Upon discovering the truth about Tara's murder, Nero is left heartbroken and tells Gemma to leave. When Jax learns of Gemma's new hideout location, Nero begs Unser to race to arrest her, protecting Gemma from Jax's wrath and protecting Jax from himself. Unser and Jax then reach Gemma at the same time. Jax pleads for Unser to leave, but the former sheriff refuses to back down and allow Jax to murder Gemma. And so, Jax is forced to kill his old friend. Gemma then accepts her fate, allowing Jax to kill her and avenge his wife. As the series comes to a close, the presidents of various Sons of Anarchy charters hold a vote against Jax for his various actions, removing him from the Sons and sentencing him to death. Jax makes one final request to the other presidents, who agree to make changes to the Sons of Anarchy bylaws and allow black members to join. Jax then patches in his old loyal friend Tio as the first black member of Sam Crow, allowing Jax to leave behind some change for the better in his Sons of Anarchy legacy. Knowing his time is now up, Jax asks Nero to look after Wendy and his sons, before bidding them all an emotional farewell. Jax uses his final moments of freedom to kill Charles Borowski at his business, and August Marks on the steps of the courthouse, leaving his Sam Crow brothers better positioned to thrive in his absence. As Jerry sends the police to hunt down Jax for multiple homicides, Jax meets with his son's brothers for the final time. He names Chibs and Tig as Sam Crow's new president and vice president, and saves them all the burden of having to kill him. Instead, as the police give chase, Jax peacefully sacrifices himself in the same way and place that his father had died decades prior.